Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrot.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution
Each week we interview top artists.
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
NessGraphics, welcome to Origin Stories.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well, man. We crossed paths in New York.
Yes.
Didn't get to spend too much time together, but turned it right around for your origin story, which is even better.
Yes. Yeah, no, way better than talking with a bunch of other people around and not being able to actually talk to each other. So I prefer this.
Yes. And now I get some of my own questions answered, maybe some questions that other people have out there, because you're
Cool.
someone who I mentioned to you off air, found many months ago. And now we get to chart the whole journey together.
Yes.
So
No,
NessGraphics,
it's been a fun roller coaster, I'd say, of a time, definitely.
roller coaster is a good word.
Yeah.
The number one question, what we start everything off with is this: what is your origin story?
So let's see. I kind of have multiple. I'll say like my crypto art origin story and my like art origin story. So I'm 25, almost 26, and I started 3D design when I was about 12 years old. I just started on an old like 2007 iMac. And I just kind of jumped into it. I don't remember exactly what put me onto it. I think I started in like Photoshop, and then I moved a little further into After Effects, and then I wanted to get into 3D, and I just got into it. And I loved cars. That's another thing that I love. I love cars and watches, right? So I got into 3D modeling, watches and cars just like all day long in high school. Or a couple of years later into high school, right? And I would spend like 4 hours a day just doing that. And then I went to college, and then this is kind of where everything starts to pick up. In college, it was kind of obvious that I wasn't going to be taught what I needed to know to actually do something for myself, right? Everyone graduating was just coming out with the same portfolio, and you'd see like an employer would see this and it would just be all the same. So from there, I kind of figured, how do I want to make myself different? And that's when I started doing every day is where I would just make a piece of art every day. Definitely inspired by Beeple. I've been following him since the early like 2010 or something like that. But from there, I just started posting my art on Instagram, and that's how I got into the music industry. How I started doing concert visuals for shows. My first kind of big ones that I did was Imagine Dragons was one, which is funny because we actually were using Beeple's artwork because he did all the album artwork. So he sent us the artwork, and then we animated it for the show. And then what else did I do? I did Travis Scott, Diplo.
Real quick on Imagine Dragons. How does that happen? So you mentioned Instagram as being the bridge to that, but how does it go down?
Yeah, so it's just through different Instagram, and then it wasn't Discord at the time. I think we had a Slack group where it's just a bunch of artists hanging out that we just met through social media and so on. And one of my art friends named Damon, he was going to work on this project with a creative director named Andy Reuter, who was doing the visuals for the show, and they just needed an extra person. And that's how it happens. It's just you're there and you say, hey, yeah, I'm available. I can fly out and miss 3 weeks of college to to work on a show. And I did. I flew out like 2 weeks later or something and did it. But yeah, that's kind of how the music industry works. You just kind of break in, and then once you're in, you know, because people also, they don't want to take a risk on someone who's never done anything, because we have such crazy deadlines, right? Like I did last year, right? Yeah. So Grammys 2020, I did the whole Lil Nas X, his whole performance. I did that by myself. I hired one person to help me with one section, but that was like, I had a week to do that the whole performance, massive Grammys thing. And I slept like 2 hours a night. So when in that moment, when I hired someone, you know, who has done it before. So again, once you're in, you're in. And yeah, it's weird how Instagram is kind of like the hub of music industry. That's where, you know, you don't get professional emails. You just get a DM that says like, hey, are you available to work? And you're like, yeah. And then they're like, here, come do this. And then you do. But
all these social networks, right? I mean, even the amount of business that gets done in Twitter DMs, even and on and on. I'm sure whatever pops up next, it'll be the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, I mean, I went to college and graduated. I've never shown my degree or resume to anyone. You know, no one asked for it, and it's all through Instagram. It's pretty crazy, to be honest.
Go back to that point in college. You talked about a point where you recognized that you were not going to learn what you needed. That's a mature thing to recognize. Can you talk a little bit more about that, how that comes into your mind?
Yeah, I think so. It was, I want to say either beginning of junior year or maybe, okay, so it was like the summer between sophomore to junior year of college, right? And I just, again, realized that I wasn't learning what I needed to learn. Mind you, I was already a very self-taught artist. Like I've been using Cinema 4D since version 12. It's on version like 24 right now, to give you an idea of how many revisions I've gone through of the software and so on. And I taught myself through middle school and high school the software. So getting to college and being in actual classes was kind of weird too. And I tried to go along with the courses, but it just, most of the courses that I was being taught, I already taught myself when I was a freshman in high school, you know? So I just found myself just like skipping classes to go do my own stuff, right? And then my teachers also kind of caught on, and I would like get like A's for things I didn't actually do because they just knew I was doing other stuff, which is kind of funny. Like when I left for Imagine Dragons for like 3 weeks, my professor was just like, don't worry about anything. Like, we're trying to teach you things to get a job and you're actively doing it. So like, I mean, he wasn't going to like give me an F for doing real work, you know? But yeah, it was just, it was clear that I wasn't going to be taught what I needed to actually know to be who I am. And that's kind of when like NessGraphics came to be, I guess. You know,
do you feel as you're coming to that realization, then you get this opportunity to do Imagine Dragons, you're on this flight over to accomplish it. Are you having a thought process of like, this is a first step of validation, or this is a milestone step of validation?
Yeah. So I had already known, mainly from Beeple, watching Beeple stuff for years before me. I knew I wanted to get into the music industry and do concert visuals. It's kind of like my dream. And then when it actually happened, it was like, oh, this is real. And it was really cool. And then from there, it was just kind of like a snowball effect, I guess, where it's just, you do one thing, your name is on one thing, and that's all it takes. And then you just get more and more and more and more and more, and so on.
Give us one more milestone from your time in the music industry in that general stretch of a few years.
I would say 2 would be, so I did some small stuff for Coachella in the past, like very small, like daytime sets, but getting to work on like Diplo and doing like 3 performances for one weekend, Diplo, Playboi Carti, and Sheck Wes. Doing that was a really big milestone, getting to work on that with some cool art directors. One of the guys I work with a lot is named Michael Murrow, who's also into NFTs now. But that was really cool to work on. And then the other one was getting to do Travis Scott's Astroworld. That was really cool. And that was, again, with a creative director named Mike Carson, who's another great artist. And that was just, it's really hard to put into words, like the feelings, but just seeing at the time, Travis was getting to be even more of like the highest artist there was for a tour 2 years ago or a year ago, something like that. And just having my artwork be like the face of it, essentially. You know, every time you'd see an Instagram picture, I would see my art. Like I have this one where it's like a butterfly on fire, right? That one I've seen like millions of times on Instagram, pretty much just from getting reposted and so on. So I think those 2 were the big milestones in contra visuals, definitely.
Give us the NessGraphics POV. So it's Travis Scott.
Yeah.
It's night one. I don't know if it's a soul night or multi nights, but let's just say it's night 1 or the soul night of the performance. Your art's about to go up. Where are you and what are you doing?
Usually, okay, so it's a little different. So we work very close to deadline. You know, first show was in Maryland, in Baltimore, I believe. And for some reason, the doors got pushed back because there was something wrong with the automation for like this big roller coaster, right? and we're still working. We're still making new visuals when the show is supposed to be starting in like 30 minutes. It's definitely like this crazy part of craziness. Like I probably slept an hour the night before, for like the last 2 days, it's been like that. It's just kind of like a big blur, I want to say. Travis comes in and he's in there, he's involved for the most part. And he's saying he likes it and stuff. And you can also tell he was like nervous too, for it. But yeah, I'd say it's kind of a blur. I think most people in the concert industry will say that these last hours before either a really big tour or a big performance like Coachella and so on, when it's a big performance, it's pretty crazy. It's just a blur, definitely.
Do you have a moment after the fact where it sinks in, or do you just move on to the next?
Yeah, no, I try to take a break, but at times it's just music industry, especially with festival season, it's work. Mm-hmm. It's endless. It's definitely fun though. But the good part, at least for what I do, is I don't actually have to run the shows, right? So I like to make most of my art, my visuals are a thing called time code, right? So if you've ever been to a show, right, like each song has a specific time, mm-hmm. So I can edit my visuals to hit on the beat every single time, and it just runs, and I don't have to do anything. It's just, it goes, it's gone. So it's less stress for me, when the show happens, because I know at least I've double checked all my stuff. If something goes wrong, it's not my fault. Mm-hmm. Somebody else's fault. It's the media server guy. So usually when the show comes, I'm pretty relaxed, which is nice. But yeah.
Has there ever been something you noticed after the fact? Like something
every
small?
Time. Yeah. I mean, also, one thing that a lot of artists that I've worked with for shows, I think something they haven't been able to grab onto is we're working like crazy deadlines, right? So Travis Scott we had 3 weeks for the whole tour. I must have made about 150 different animations in that time, right? With tons of revisions and so on. So you really don't have time to be like super nitpicky, like I put into my art that I make now for crypto art, I spend like 2 weeks on for one piece. Mm-hmm. And I'll make 100+ animations in that same time. So you just don't have time to put that level of detail into this. And I think, again, something a lot of people don't get, or not that they don't grab onto, but they don't catch it right away when they're doing this stuff, is it's going to be on an LED screen at a show when either half the people are high or drunk and they just want to see cool things. And if there's a screw up, it's fine, mm-hmm. But I definitely always catch them and I always see it. I'm like, oh shit. And every time you see it, it gets me. Like I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was something for Astroworld's tour. And I saw that show like 6 or 7 times. And every time I saw it, I was like, damn, I see it, but it's fine. No one else notices it.
Let's flip it to the other side. What's one image? I know it's probably impossible. Image or animation, doesn't matter. But that you would grab out of a tour and make yours forever if you could have complete control of it moving forward.
I'll show you. It's definitely the butterfly, I think. Let's see. Where is it?
And that was part of which tour?
This was Astroworld.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just this big butterfly, just
amazing,
just doing its thing. I love that one, and a lot of people love it, and I've had offers too for people who want it as NFTs and and so on, but it's like, I can't, I'll get sued in a heartbeat. Yeah. But yeah, I love that one.
How did that concept come to life?
I don't remember exactly. It was more like, so working in the music industry, how it is usually is either at times I'm in like a creative director type role too, where I have like more freedom, like with when I did what is it called, Lil Nas X for the Grammys, it was pretty open. It was very just like, make a cowboy set for part of it, make lightning, make this, and then I go out and do everything myself, right? And then for these other big tours, when I'm not in that role, it's usually I get just like a mood board, right? So in this case, Mike Carson had a whole mood board, and one of them was just like a reference photo or a quick thing of just like butterfly on fire, right? And then I actually what my job is to actually create that into something that is feasible, right? Because mood boards can be all over the place. It can be things that make no sense that you can't actually create in the time. And that's what I do. I just correlate it to reality. So that's kind of how it came. There's still plenty of things where it's my ideas, but for that piece specifically, I believe it was Mike Carson's idea.
So keep walking us forward. We're going to get closer to the magic 3-letter word that is NFT. Yes. So get us closer. Where does it hit your radar? When do you become aware of NFTs? And then
I want to say it was like August or so, I think, of 2020. I saw, what's his name? Gavin Shapiro, I believe his name is, right? The flamingos and such. I saw him, and I saw Kid Mograph posting about it. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I started looking into it. And that's kind of when I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I applied to SuperRare. I have a funny story with SuperRare because I had a previous client of mine. I'm not going to state any names, but a previous music industry client of mine, I made an animation for them a while ago, and they put it on SuperRare to sell without my knowledge. And that's kind of my getting into SuperRare, was trying to understand, because I was waiting this long period. You know, it was a really shitty couple of weeks of waiting when I was like, I'm not on there, but my art is on there. Ooh. You know, it was like this weird thing where it's like, am I good enough to be on there? Yet my art is or not, you know? But I got in. It was just taking a while, you know, as they usually do, because there was just so many people applying.
Did you find that? Did someone alert you? How did it come on your radar?
Yeah, I think I just saw them posted somewhere, and I messaged the manager. I mean, it all got worked out, so I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, it was just I didn't know it was happening. It was kind of weird, but.
Yeah. So then a few weeks pass, you get in, and then where does your mind go as to what am I going to lead off with? Like how serious are you taking NFTs at that moment?
I was definitely taking it super seriously, because I could see the potential. I had a feeling there was going to be a big boom and so on. This was, I think, when was Beeple's first one? His first one was October, I think, right?
Yeah. Yep. First one was October, and the second one December.
So I applied and started thinking about it before Beeple's thing, right? So in September, I applied and thought about it, I think the end of September. And then Beeple's first thing was while I was in my application period. And then, so during that time, that's when I was kind of really thinking, like, what am I going to do? And then Beeple obviously was like the stamp of approval, showing like, yeah, this is a real thing, you know, that it's not just some fake thing that's going to go away. And I just started thinking like, all right, I'm going to start with some original work on SuperRare. And I also went on MakersPlace and I put some of my previous work on there, nothing new. And yeah, it just it just kicked off. I posted something, and then that's where I posted it. I thought I was going to do somewhat okay, and then it just flops. You know, it gets like nothing. It gets like 0.3 ETH bids, while the price of Ethereum at the time was like 400 or something. So yeah, and then at that point I kind of reevaluated, and I was still, I think what I did was, before I was going to make new stuff, I was going to let some of my previous work that I had sell first, because I still needed to, like, I couldn't just quit doing work, especially during COVID with music industry already being hell, you know. And that's something I forgot to talk about, how it just got destroyed, you know. So I posted some of my previous artwork, and it kind of got low bids, but nothing I was too happy with. And then I posted this one other piece, and it sold for 5 ETH, right? And that was $2,500 at the time. That was my first sale. And then right away, I of course didn't really understand how NFTs worked yet. And I posted another piece like a week later, and I had a collector reach out to me and ask how much I wanted for it. And I said, oh, my floor is 5 ETH. And then he explained to me, that's not how this works. He had already been a big collector. So he kind of explained to me, and I caught on to that. And then that's when really everything, like my whole idea in motion of what I wanted to do in NFTs, that's when it started. that's when I realized, okay, I don't care about money at all. All I care about is getting collectors to be able to collect my art, because it's just, that's another thing. It's just so cool to finally be able to have that. You know, I come from a very artsy kind of family. My sister's a fine artist. What do you call it? An oil painter. So she always got to be able to have that gallery setting, and I never did as a digital artist. So that's really cool. But back to what I was saying is, this piece, again, I didn't care at all about the money, and all I cared about was finding collectors who wanted it. That's when I met Tim, illustrator. And that's when he bought like 4 of my pieces, each for 1 ETH, I believe. And then from there, that's all it took to just start to do well, because I had Sir Nigel who bought 1 of them, and I had Tim who had like 4 pieces, and I had one kind of like cyberpunk-esque piece that they both wanted. And it went up to 8.5. And then I think the next one sold for 5, and then the next one sold back for like 8 or something, and it just started going up, and that's kind of how it went. So yeah, it definitely, it took time though. It took like two months, I want to say, of minting stuff, and with almost no sales at all, before it actually started to pick up.
Before the legend of NessGraphics became a real
Yes.
thing.
Apparently, yes.
Isn't it amazing how we can sit here today, and at least to me, I don't know how it feels to you, but you say the words 2 months.
Yeah.
And to me, my first inclination outside of the NFT space is it's actually a pretty short amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Like I could see 2 months from now, it's going to happen in the blink of an eye. But at that time, how that 2 months must have felt to you is a whole different story.
It wasn't that bad, I want to say, because NFTs at that time, they were a little different. You know, they weren't as crazy. You know, it was a little weird in the beginning, seeing like my art and then seeing other art sell. You know, your mind is in this weird thing where it's almost like, is my art, am I not good enough, and so on. That was another thing. Once this stuff became super easy, and my mental health became so much better when I stopped caring at all about anyone else. You know, I just cared about my art. You know, and if someone else made a big sale, like, it doesn't matter to me. You know, it's not gonna make me feel bad about myself, and so on. What was I saying though? What sorry.
We're talking about the 2 months, whether it felt short.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad, because I was still doing commercial work at that time. I was doing some stuff for some New Zealand artists, I believe. So it wasn't that bad. It wasn't too long. But yeah, I mean, once I got all into NFTs, and that's kind of all I'm doing, 2 months now is ages. You know, like what is that? I think 2 months ago would be like my Nifty drop or something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
That feels way longer. That feels like 6 months ago. But yeah.
It's all time work. It's all time work.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's good that you had that work at the time, a distraction at the time.
Yeah.
You were able to like decouple it a little bit in your mind, because I find that does lead to much improved mental health versus riding with the tide.
Yeah, it was also easier in the beginning too for my mental health, because I was putting up my NFTs. Most of my NFTs were previous artwork that I already had made over the years. So it wasn't like I was making all these new pieces and spending the 2 weeks that I spend on my art and then posting it and nothing, right? Like, that would feel way more destroying to me than this was kind of just in the background, where I was like, oh, let me try this and see what I can do and test this out, you know? And once my previous artwork did well, that's when I was comfortable enough to be like, okay, I'm pausing doing commercial work, and I just want to do just NFTs. And I've pretty much been doing just NFTs since like December.
Talk about that. Talk about that decision to say, I believe in this so much now, where I'm going all in here.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, it's like a mix. It was tough, but it also wasn't, because at that time there wasn't really much going on regardless with music industry. You know, this was December and January, where there wasn't any festivals, you know, that would have really been happening around that time, maybe some like New Year's Eve type stuff. And there also obviously wasn't large shows because of COVID. So it wasn't that hard. I still now, like, I'm still doing music industry stuff. Like, I just did some stuff for Rolling Loud, because I don't want to just leave everyone that I've worked with, you know, for years and just be like, peace out, I'm making NFTs, you know, like that's not me. So I've been still doing that, but definitely not as much. Like if somebody asked me right now to say like, hey, will you come work on like a 2-month long tour or a month long tour, I'd be like, I can't. I just have, because NFTs are so like amazing, and I don't want to just do that, but at the same time I don't want to leave everyone dry. So kind of this weird middle ground.
Yeah. How do you describe your art? Because when I look at it and I roll through SuperRare and I roll through MakersPlace and Nifty Gateway, you have a lot of elements at play. You have cyberpunk, obviously. I think that's the at least I'm sure it's through your entire art career, but like recently it's been cyberpunk heavy.
Yes.
You also have elements of like nature and a little dystopia thrown in there and a little bit of humor thrown in there and some pop culture thrown in there. How do you describe your artwork?
I don't really know. It's just kind of like all over the place, I want to say. At least with my cyberpunk stuff, I kind of base it all off Neuralink is kind of my series, you know, where it's obviously based off of Elon Musk's Neuralink. And it's just kind of my fun little series where I can do whatever I want in cyberpunk and it'll kind of all flow together in some way, you know? So I don't know. It's just kind of having fun, I guess. I really like, obviously, if you see my stuff, I really like making like really gross art, like where it's kind of, it might be beautiful from a distance, you know, but if you look into it, like if you look into any of these dirty desks that I have, like they're not these beautiful, nice, happy settings. They're like disgusting with grime and like old cheeseburgers and hamburgers laying around and so on, you know? So, like I remember seeing one thread on Twitter and someone was like, post your art and say what it would smell like, right? And you see like this thread of just people and it's all like mountains and stuff, and they're like fresh like rose petals or all these like, you know, very happy things. And I just put my art and I commented and I said like old moldy cream cheese is what my art would smell like, you know, and just having fun with that. So yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's just kind of all over the place, I guess.
Yeah. It is interesting you say that about your artwork, because even going into your MakersPlace, not that it necessarily smells like old moldy cream cheese, but you have that imagery of like going down a terrifying hallway, that I think you said you wouldn't want to go down this hallway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's definitely, so coming from music industry, right? When I make animations for a song, I don't try to make it literal, you know, to what the song is talking about. I try to think first, like what feelings do I want somebody to feel? Like if you listen to a sad song about whatever, about rain or something, right? The visuals probably won't have rain. It'll be something other than that. It'll be just something sad, you know, or happy. It's not going to be literal. So I do the same thing with this kind of art, where before I make any of my art, I figure out what do I want you to feel when you're looking at it, right? So if I feel that you want to be happy and kind of calm, that's how I made the new chapters animation with the doors opening, you know, because I knew I wanted to make something very kind of, I'm blanking on the word, kind of like you could hypnotize yourself with it. You know, there's just a very steady loop and so on. And then with my other art, with my like home base, right, that series that I'm doing within Neuralink, I kind of want you to feel overwhelmed and disgusted almost. Like there's a lot going on and you can take it in bits, but if you look at it as a whole, I want you to feel like overwhelmed kind of, right? So again, with my art, it's just that it's feelings first, and then I make something based on the feelings.
I enjoy art. It actually brings back a term I haven't used in quite a while, but I call it zoomability. Yeah. I enjoy art that has zoomability, where you can see it from afar. And like you said, maybe you get an emotion, maybe you get a color palette, right? But then you're very immediately become aware of, I can zoom into all these nooks and crannies and corners and see Easter eggs and different things that you put there. Yeah,
no, all of my art is full of Easter eggs. I spend a lot of time on that of just hand drawing everything out, of all these little etchings on desks and there's plenty of Easter eggs too that you can't even see but are in it, you know, because they end up being on one thing but it gets turned around or something. But just the fact that I know it's there also like makes me happy, even if you can't read it. So yeah, no, that's definitely one of the things I also think of. I want people to zoom in and try to find all the little fun details and so on.
Give us one or two Easter eggs / fun details / things that you put in there that may be noticeable, may not be noticeable, wherever you want to take it.
I mean, one thing, there's a phone number that you can actually contact in some of my art, and some people have found it. It's not my personal number, so you can't get anything from me from it, but I will respond to it. I have access to that. So some people have found that. There's tons of Morse code in it.
Wait, is that 420-6969?
No, that is not my number. I think that's a weird hotline.
I was like, how did you get that?
I wish I could get that. I wish I could, but no, there's other phone numbers in it. That's like a Google Voice number that if you call, there'll be a bunch of Morse code and stuff for the voicemail. So some people have found that, some haven't. I also have a lot of Morse code in a lot of my art. Like any light that's blinking, usually, if it's you know, that's Morse code. So it's actually saying something. Not many people have gone through that either. And then just like on all the desks, there's just always tiny little things written out and stuff. One thing that I keep thinking of is, I remember writing on one of them is I etched in and I said like, I want a CryptoPunk sad face. And then the next day I bought one. And so I believe I still have it in there. If you go and look, I think I etched it out. And then I wrote like, now I have a CryptoPunk happy face or something like that. You know, so I just have a lot of fun with the Easter eggs. And I also like putting collectors' names and different things, or I'll be on like Discord at 2 a.m. in one of the servers and just say like, hey, first 5 people like who respond can have like their profile picture or some random thing they like, you know, put into the artwork too. So that's another thing I like to do, is just have people involved, you know.
The intersection of technical and joy is something that I realize fascinates me so much. And someone who owns one of those street corners is Gavin Shapiro. So it comes to mind, you mentioned him earlier. Same thing, you know, just seeing this art where you have great craft, but you also have so much fun with it.
Yeah, no, his work is great in that. I love that. You can he's one of the best looping artists there is. I don't think there's many other people who loop, because it's definitely hard to do. You have to think it hard. And I think he's also comes from music industry too. I think he does concert visuals also. Yep. But yeah, no, I love loops.
Yeah. I just love seeing that mashup of again, you look at the art and you say, this is great art, but then there's so much fun to be had with it. So anyway, hats off to you.
Thank you.
It hits a special nerve in me.
Thank you.
I want to go random aside. I have to ask this.
Yeah.
July 11th, 2017, going back to your Instagram. One thing I like to do is just scroll back through an Instagram, go back to the beginning. But this one is called Scream. Can you talk about that specific photo? You later referenced it again. I have to know.
Is it this one?
That's the one.
Yeah, I don't know. I just had fun with it. I was just like, I wanted to make like a creepy artwork. And I was kind of stuck because it was when I was doing everydays. And I was just like, I'll just make the Scream guy with Supreme on his shirt in a ball pit. Like it made no sense. It was just funny. And that's how that one came about. But
it was a standout.
I haven't looked at that one in a while. Yeah, it definitely stands out with the rest if you look at it. Like,
yes, I had that exact experience. I'm scrolling through. I paused.
Nature. Scream in a ball pit.
Yes. Okay, let's go nature. I have to know. One of my favorite NessGraphics artworks is entitled "Nature Prevails." It's on SuperRare.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I made that one. When did I make that one? So that one I made a while ago, and then I kind of like revamped it a little bit to be better, right? Let's see. I originally made it in 2018. I made it during the shutdown, one of the governmental shutdowns. again, that's another thing. I'm very political with my art. I don't bring it that much into crypto art, but if you look at my history of my art, super political. So this was done during the shutdown. I forget exactly why the shutdown happened. It was in 2018. But this was kind of my way of expressing what was going on. And then I just went from there, and then I just really liked how it looked again, and I wanted to kind of revamp it a bit and bring it into crypto art.
Yeah, that was another piece that I got stuck on.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that one.
Have you thought at all about your MakersPlace and your SuperRare? MakersPlace, it has several pieces with a traveling straightforward theme. SuperRare has several pieces with a pan side to side theme.
Yeah. I don't really know. My MakersPlace was a little different because I didn't really have time to think about what I wanted to put on my MakersPlace, if that makes sense, because their process is a little strange, where to actually get your storefront up and going, you have to upload at least 3 pieces of art. And at the time, it was just those 3 pieces that I liked. It was very random. It was like 2 horror and a very serene nature clip, you know? But yeah, I mean, there's like 3 pushing animations, and I don't think I have any pushing animations on SuperRare.
2 terrifying hallways and 1 serene nature scene.
Yeah, you can go back and forth.
That's right. I appreciate the diversity. All right, I have to know. Let's move into your intersection with the Bored Apes, because to me, you see in other artworks, again, all these Easter eggs, all of these reference points. You're having fun, and then there you really go all in on a concept and a brand.
Yeah. So yeah, with Bored Apes, so I minted 13 of them, and I just instantly got into them. I loved them. It was my first collectible that I minted. I bought a Punk, I think, like a month before, but these just felt, out of all the ones that were happening, this was kind of at the beginning, I think, of kind of the avatar craze. It just felt really good. You know, you could really tell, like, from the artist perspective, the layering was great. You know, they really feel unique. They don't feel like it was just some Photoshop layers slapped on by some random artist that's being paid like minimum wage by someone, right? Where some of these other projects do feel like that.
Yeah.
So I just kind of went in and I just loved it. And I minted like 2 rare ones. One of them was like a 4-trait rarity 60. And then I minted also my black suit, which is my favorite. And yeah, they're just really cool. So I thought, I want to make like a ape related piece of art and incorporate different collectors of mine and friends and have their apes in there, you know? So I would tweet and I'd say like, I'll pick like 10 apes who respond to this to have their ape in there. And it got like a couple hundred responses or something, and people were really liking it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I don't really do those kind of projects often unless it's something I really believe in. I know it's kind of funny, multiple other avatar projects like ask me all the time to do like something similar, and I don't even respond usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just it was fun. It felt genuine too, because I had minted 13 of them, and at the time when I made it, I still had a bunch, which I accidentally sold a couple more because I forgot I had them listed for like 3 ETH, and I was like, they're all on my, I have them on like a hardware wallet for all my NFTs. So I was out and I couldn't unlist them in time because the floor randomly rose like from like 1 ETH to 4 the next day.
Yeah.
It was like when they released the dogs, when they announced them, and everyone was buying, you know, apes that didn't have dogs.
Yeah.
So they sold, and I was like, shit, because I didn't have time, but I still have 3 left. So
it's still a pretty good situation.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. One of I think it might've been for too low. I probably could have gone higher, but it was still, I was happy with it. I got like 20 ETH for my rarity 60, but I don't know. I kind of wish I held it, but I forgot I had it listed.
Do you still have your suit?
Yeah, I still have my suit, and I have like 2 others.
Nice.
And I really have no plans to sell them unless someone actually wants to give me 69 ETH for my, which is what it's listed at right now for the black suit. I mean, if someone wants to give me 69 ETH, I'll probably take it, because that's like a lot of money.
You heard it here.
I love PNGs and JPEGs and all, but that's a lot of money.
That's your level, right?
Exactly.
Everyone has a price.
Yeah. I might have to put it up if floor keeps rising.
Fair enough.
The next number would be 420.
I was gonna say it has to be 420.6969.
Exactly. Yes.
Did you expect that to go as well as it did?
Not really. I was kind of nervous because I originally was gonna list it way lower. I was gonna do it like 0.25, and then I had a lot of collectors of mine even telling me, they're like, no, that's too cheap. Like do it higher. And I was like 1 ETH, and they were like, yeah, that's fine. So it was addition of 100 at 1 ETH, and it sold out in like 15-30 seconds or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And took off. Yeah, it's funny that there are certain decisions made where at the time they feel like interesting. I wonder how this will go. That was one for me, because I had like I'm the behind the scenes fan of NessGraphics, you know, have been paying attention for all this time. See that coming out, I'm like, that's really interesting that he's doing that. And so you see the 1 ETH, and I'm like, I wonder how this will go. And then it goes super well within 15-30 seconds of like fist pumping. And I can't say that I ever had a Bored Ape. It's a bit of a sore spot. But I was very happy to see that happen.
Yeah, no, I was definitely happy about it. It was definitely nerve-wracking. I remember that day well, just sitting there on my phone and just watching it happen. And I specifically didn't look at it. I just knew, like, I set them all up the night before. I was up at like 4 a.m. with Richard from Manifold setting up the contract, and then we minted them, but then I had to actually get them listed on OpenSea, and OpenSea, hopefully they do this sometime, but there's no manual not, how do you say it, like batch. You can't just batch and say all of these go live at X time. So I had to go through all 100 of them and set them each to go live at 1 ETH at this time. And then I had like 50 of them that was reserved, so I had to put in people's accounts, you know, to be a private sale and so on. So I had like no sleep that night. So it was definitely nerve-wracking. And then pretty much. Days. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I was used to it, but yeah, and then it sold out instantly. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, amazing. And you mentioned a name and a company overall, and that's Richard from Manifold. So I think it's a perfect time to segue there, because then you do something very interesting where eventually you bring those apes over into Nifty Gateway.
Yeah, so now you can deposit it into Nifty and you can trade there. So it's cool because it also brings in other collectors who may have wanted to get it, but they don't hold crypto. You know, maybe they're just strictly credit card collectors, which I have, and they were happy because then they went and bought it on Nifty. And then if they want, they can still take it out of Nifty and have it be, like, no offense to Nifty or anything, but it is really cool that it doesn't say it's not just from like Nifty Ombus or whatever. You know, it is actually my own contract, which I think is the future. And it's really nice to see Nifty starting that more and more. I think, didn't they just do another, I think they just did another contract where it was a full, like, it was bought on Nifty, but it's a Manifold contract also.
They did.
Yeah,
they did.
Think, was it Micah Johnson?
Micah Johnson. Yep, Micah Johnson.
Micah,
Yep.
Micah Johnson. Yeah.
Chapter 3. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that was cool because, again, it's that province of the artists, which is awesome to see. So yeah, no, it was really cool to be. I think I was like the second person that they did that with. I think Mad Dog was first, and then I was second the next day.
Yeah, it's pretty good company.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was good. It was cool.
One more piece somewhere along your NFT journey that stands out to you.
Let's see. Let me just look at my.
There's a legacy.
I think one of mine. Yeah, I think one of mine that has the most meaning to me would be one called Chronicles 2011 Exploit, which is on MakersPlace. Because I said before, I started 3D on my like 2007 iMac, right? And that computer, I got into 3D art on that, but that's also where I got into crypto. I had mined, I forget if I mined it on that Mac or if I mined it on like a PC whatever it was, my wallet was on that computer. And this was, I think, before Bitcoin Pizza. So there wasn't really like a defined price, like of what Bitcoin was worth. It was just these magic internet tokens. And I had 1,000 Bitcoin and I just forgot about it. And in 2011, I sold that iMac on eBay for $320 or so. I think it was $325 that I sold it for. And I had like wiped the hard drive many times over too. And I of course, I didn't write down any of the seed phrases. I don't think we even had seed phrases then. I think it was just your private key. I don't think they did the whole 2048 word thing yet. Yeah, so that was just gone. So 2011 was a year for me. Yeah, it would have been like 66 million or something like that at its height, I think.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Like 40 million today, I think. Yeah. So yeah, 2011 was a strong year. So this piece was with Not Fungible. Do you know them?
Yes.
It's like yeah. So it was part of their project, and they asked me what year I wanted to do, and 2011 was available, and I was like, yeah,
amazing.
That's the one. So yeah, I mean the art. I'll just show it again. So it is the iMac that I had, and it's
there
just
it
like
is.
this. Yeah. So yeah, that's my other favorite one. I want to say yeah.
Forever immortalized.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, you have a good spirit about it now. I mean, I guess
it's
just have to move
probably on. I mean, who knows that 1,000 Bitcoin is a lot even back then, like I used to be really big into Doge too. I mined like 3 million or no, maybe 4 million of it. And I sold it for really low back then. It's kind of funny. I found emails that I sent to, I think, my mom, and it was like a link to CoinMarketCap. And all in the email, it just says, look at Dogecoin. And this was like 5 days after Dogecoin was released. So I was big into that. And I sold that for not much money. So I'm sure I would have sold the Bitcoin for less too. So it doesn't hurt because it's lost. Would have hurt way more if I sold it, I want to say.
Fair. Because it's less of a conscious decision.
Yeah. I mean, it's gone. Nobody else has it. Nobody made money off it. It's just somewhere. And if anything, it's just helping the price of Bitcoin because it's just lost.
Is there a lesson that you walk forward having had those experiences?
I mean, like one thing from losing my money, losing the Bitcoin and so on is safety, of having everything backed up and having your hardware wallets and seed phrases, and your metal books. So even if your house burns down, you're fine and so on. So, I mean, I definitely learned a lot of that from it, and just even if you think something's pointless, don't just lose it and forget about it because you never know.
Sound advice from someone who's been there.
Yeah, definitely.
NessGraphics, ready to play a game?
Yes.
Game is the lightning round.
Okay.
Quick takes, hot takes. I feel like you're wired right for this. You got this.
Yeah, I'm perfect for this.
Just fire words, sentences, and if you want to hit timeout, feel free to do so and go on a tangent. But otherwise, we'll keep it rolling.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Lightning round. Topic number 1: NFTs.
Or just say anything about
it. Anything comes to mind.
Neuralink.
Ethereum.
ETH.
Nifty Gateway.
Open editions.
MakersPlace.
Hybrid weird ERC 20 something. Whatever their tokens are.
SuperRare.
Cool 1 of 1.
Bored Apes.
Bored Ness Ape Club.
A place your art has not yet been, but you'd want it to be.
That's tough. Shit. Shit. A billboard.
A concept you haven't explored that you'd like to in the future.
That's tough, but whatever it is, I'm going to keep it. Not going to say it.
Okay, fair. I like that. Keep it close to the vest. Fair enough.
Yes.
the last piece of NFT related artwork that made your jaw drop?
It's also tough. Shit.
And I always like to say chronologically, so don't worry about ranking anyone against anyone else.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's tough because I'm like mini tangent here. I'm like very, not judgmental, but like I have very strong feelings about NFTs and art and so on. I'm just trying to think of a piece recently that like really blew my mind. I mean, anything from David Ariev, his Nifty drop and so on. All of his stuff is just amazing. He's by far one of the best 3D artists. Also Ash Thorpe, his pieces, probably one of them I would say is most recently like my favorite that there is.
Perfect. How about the last piece of NFT related artwork or an artist that you looked at and said, why don't more people know about this or this person?
I have one of my friends, he's back and forth in crypto art. His name is Frank Xavier. I have him on SuperRare. He's an artist that I think more people should see because he has a very unique style that I think would do very well. I'd say probably him.
Let's go back to the music industry.
Yeah.
How about your dream connection there? Your art goes up on whose stage?
Honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. As long as it's an artist I relate with, but more what matters to me is I want to do a stadium tour. I haven't done a stadium tour. I've just done arenas and amphitheaters. So that would be cool.
Nice. All right, you passed the lightning round. Nice work. Nice
Thank
work.
you. So, some of them definitely were very slow thunder. I mean, slow lightning, but
you brought the thunder too.
Yeah.
All right, so NessGraphics, what's next? A very broad question. I know some of the stuff you're going to keep close to the vest, but what would you like to tell people?
I mean, I'm gonna do the 100. I mean, okay. So obviously, I'm gonna do a project of 10,000 editions, where each edition is another 10,000 editions. Right? Turns into 100 million edition. No, I wouldn't do that. But that was just a funny thing I was talking with someone with. I'm gonna do. I have another. What do you call it? Nifty Gateway next month is on August 18th. I have that coming up. It's going to be like a very small size one. It's really only geared towards previous collectors. There's like another home base version 3, which will likely be the last home base I do. And for that one, I'm going back and forth on like how it's going to be, but I think I might only make it available to those who have 1 and 2, to try to help out. And then I'll probably do one other piece that maybe is only for previous collectors of mine. But besides that, I don't really have anything like big that I have planned out at the moment. I'm just kind of going with the flow and seeing what I want to do. Because whenever I try to plan things, it doesn't really work for me. I don't like that. I like to just out of nowhere, think of something. Like the board Ness Ape Club thing was, I just kind of thought of it overnight and then I did it and then it happened. So we'll see, whatever pops up.
I like that philosophy, especially in this space right now where it seems like you have a great macro strategy about you, but in terms of the micro, I mean, a 5-year plan is basically 2 weeks. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I have my plan of my overarching plan, I guess, will be like, I'm never going to do like a addition of 10,000 project, I wouldn't do that. The addition of 100, which was the board Ness thing, that's likely the largest edition I'll ever do. I have no plans in doing anything larger. I'll never do an open edition, etc. I really, and at the same time, also, I'm almost trying to lean towards not allowing people to buy my art, if that makes sense. I want to be more selective of who can actually purchase it, and have it go to collectors that I know and trust, because that's the one thing that I don't like as much about NFTs is just getting to control your art, you know. That's something that my sister gets to do really nicely. You know, if somebody comes and offers them a bunch of money for an art piece, but it's kind of sketchy and you don't know what's going on with them. And then you have another collector that you might previously have who's like, hey, I don't have that much money, but I can give you this. You know, you would say, yeah, I trust you. We don't really get to do that as much with NFTs, unfortunately, you know, and all it takes is one or two collectors that you maybe don't know that out of nowhere just decide they want to liquidate their accounts, you know, that can just hurt you. You know, we saw that over this weekend with a collector who purchased one of mine. He went and like liquidated a lot of his SuperRare and just we're cutting floors like crazy, you know? So yeah, I just want to try to see how I can be more selective, yet still being open. I don't want to just be elitist and be like, hey, unless you're like amazing person. Yeah, that's something that I'm trying to think of how I can go forward and so on.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, being open, but being well thought out and
exactly
charting your course somewhere in between those worlds.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as you're not sketchy. I'd love everyone to be able to collect my art, but if you're gonna collect it for 2 days and then get scared and sell it,
yeah,
chances are I don't want to be just like a token or a shit coin, you know, like this is we're artists, we're art, we're not just a random collectible. So I like to try to keep that distinguishing.
Makes sense. If you're sketchy, sit this one out.
Exactly. Yes.
NessGraphics, where can people find you?
So NessGraphics on Instagram, Ness_graphics on Twitter. And then if you just search NessGraphics, you'll find me on pretty much everything. I think all the crypto related websites are all just NessGraphics. No space, no underscore, just that.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much for spending the time.
No problem.
Your origin story in the books.
Thank you. Awesome.
See you, man.
See ya.